Republican Congressman Brian Mast of Florida sits on the House Foreign Affairs Committee, an Army veteran awarded a Purple Heart Bronze Star for his service to our nation, and we are always so grateful. And that you are serving now as a congressman. Tell me, from the committee that you sit on, what are the greatest dangers that you all are looking at right now with regard to China?
A number of things. So the term was used, escalating tensions between China and the United States. Here's all of the reasons I could give you in a nutshell as to why. They have the most rapidly advancing nuclear arsenal of any country. You have North Korea on the peripheral just today saying that the United States and North Korea are rapidly pushing towards nuclear war. That's not a coincidence that they're testing America at the same time. You have China essentially on Wednesday imposing a naval blockade around Taiwan, telling merchant ships that they're going to be subject to random inspections at different times. They're constantly saying that they're pushing the United States. This is China saying they're pushing the United States Navy out of what they claim to be their waters. We've heard numerous times that they're saying Taiwan is a red line for China, but we don't hear the United States saying that it is a red line for the United States of America. And then I would sum this all up in just one other place to say, you know, you look at this, many people have said that Taiwan is China is the new Cold War with the United States of America. I believe that to be true. And in that being true, I believe that Taiwan is the new East-West Germany of this Cold War.
Oh, and what could that potentially mean?
So you look at that as a battleground, not just in the way that East-West Germany played things out for Europe during the Cold War with Russia. Look at the way that we are dependent upon resources, semiconductors, other things coming out of Taiwan, the way that this is a disputed territory, the way that China is saying this is a red line. And even when Speaker McCarthy steps up to the microphone and says, listen, China, you don't get to tell me who I speak to, where I speak to them, when I speak to them. I am the Speaker of the House of Representatives. He's not getting backed up by the administration, by the White House. They should be saying, no, you should take this very seriously, China. This is an escalating situation. We see this as a red line, and we are going to back Taiwan. But you see backing away from the White House, and I don't think that's what we want.
And we just showed it. I'm just baffled by the words uttered by Admiral Kirby on behalf of the White House in his new position as National Security Advisor, not official. I mean, do those words matter? It felt like they were soft-pedaling it. Everything our officials do, they're called officials. We mean it. We're doing it on purpose. Why won't the White House give it that?
It didn't just feel like they were backpedaling and handling it softly. That is absolutely what they were doing. We didn't even bring up the spy balloon, other instances going on. They are not standing firm in the face of this and saying, Taiwan, you can count on us. Another thing that we could put into play in this whole situation, Ukraine. Obviously, we know Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, they've met 40 to 50 times in person. They attend each other's birthdays. They are, you know, some people might say they have a bromance, if that's a term that you want to use for that. Very close relationship. When they were meeting around surrounding the Olympics, Vladimir Putin said there are no limits to their relationship. So every time that we are paying attention to what's going on between Russia and the Ukraine, that is a little bit less that China is under the microscope of the globe. And I think that's something that China absolutely loves about the situation.
All right, let's get to this. The United States is also facing pressure over detained Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich. He sits in a Russian prison ahead of his espionage trial. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says this.
In Evan's case, we are working through the determination on wrongful detention. It's something that we're working through very deliberately, but expeditiously as well. In my own mind, there's no doubt that he's being wrongfully detained by Russia.
Just a little housekeeping here, Congressman. I do understand they need that wrongful detention determination to rev up government efforts to get him home. So that's kind of a process that they must go through.
I believe fully that Antony Blinken, as much as he and I have disagreement on many things, we see each other on committee often. I believe they're working through the official processes of doing this. Here's where their hands are tied behind their back. Russia is looking at this and saying, well, if the United States of America was willing to give up what everybody called the merchant of death, a top arms dealer for Russia, for a WNBA player on a pot charge, What are they willing to give up for a Wall Street Journal reporter charged with espionage, facing decades in prison or possibly even death? That's where the United States of America is in a very tough negotiating situation because of what was done previously, in my opinion.
Well, Paul Whelan's family, we know that Sarah Krivonek came home right around the time of Brittany Griner. So she came home in December. So we got that one person out. And then Mark Fogel, a history teacher from Pittsburgh. I mean, there are people, and I have a list up to 50 people around the world, not just in Russia, that we need to do negotiations with to bring home. But for the Fogel family and for the Whelan families, you bring up a brilliant question. What will it take to bring them home? We have to make them a priority. I don't know how you do that with the bromance that you just described between Russia and China. Wow. Congressman, thank you very much for being in focus.